afternoon, everyone. I hope everybody loved the film as much as I did.
Yeah.
We only have a very short amount of time, so I just want to bring the actors up right away. Please welcome Kiernan Shipka, Brenda Song, and of course, Pamela Anderson. I hear you. So as I said, I've seen the film a couple times now, and I just loved it. So I just want to start by asking each of you how you got involved in the film. I'm going to start with Brenda.
They've heard this. Oh, that was very loud. They've heard this story, but I had just dropped off my kids at school, and my partner and I went to Costco, and it wasn't open yet. We were sitting in the car, and my agent called me. I was like, hey, I have this script for you in a meeting. She's explaining it to me, and she's like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm sitting in the parking lot of Costco before it's open. She's like, I need to get you a job. And so she explains the script to me, and she's like, but it's very quick. Read it tonight, and you have a meeting with Gia the next day. Read the script, and didn't know what to expect. I was just completely blown away. She said it was called The Last Showgirl, and I was expecting something very different. And I was so excited, because all I knew that was Pam was in it. I was like, yes. And it just blew me away. And I met with Gia, and we sat at Aroma Cafe for like almost 3 hours and just connected on such a different kind of level. Her vision just was incredible. I was so desperate to be in the movie. I was like, I will be your assistant, your driver, whatever you need me to be. And I was fortunate enough for her to allow me on this incredible journey. But yeah, and I was cast about like 2.5, 3 weeks before we were set to go to Vegas. So
oh, really?
It was crazy.
Oh, that's cool. Kiernan?
Yeah, I was about to go to a holiday party because, again, we shot this in January of 2024. And Gia texted me because I've known her for a while. I've been a fan since Palo Alto, and texted me, said, hey, I want to send you a script. I devoured it very quickly, Zoomed with her the next day, and then texted my agents and said, hey guys, I got myself a job. This is great. This is very exciting. It's a Gia Coppola movie. And I was in awe of the script. I've always been such a fan of Gia, and I knew Pam was involved, and then every subsequent announcement, Brenda included, was just so exciting. And yeah, we were on set by I think January 8th or 9th. It was quick, but deeply exciting.
Yeah.
And that energy just kept alive the whole time.
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions for both of you, but before we get to that, I don't feel quite right calling you Pam, so Madam Anderson.
Yeah, Queen Pamela. We'll do it with Queen Pamela.
How did you get involved?
Oh, well, it almost didn't get to me, which makes it even more precious and sweet when you do get it. It went to an old agent who turned it down within a few minutes. And so Gia knew that I hadn't read it, so found me. I was on Vancouver Island in my garden making pickles, jam. And my son met with Gia. Gia found Brandon, who produced a documentary, and that's how she saw me. So she saw the documentary and thought that I should be her Shelley. So she was relentless, found me. And I remember the first Zoom call, just selling myself to her, going, I can really do this. And she goes, no, I know you can. That's why I've been looking for you and trying to get you. So it was just both of us just very excited. And then, I obviously read the script, and I could hear the voice in my head. I could see her already. And I just thought, wow, it's never too late.
I think what I'm most interested in is how you guys work. You had 18 shooting days. And for anyone, for perspective, if you don't know,
I'm the guy who pleads with the studio that we can't possibly make this movie in 45 days. So when you make a film this good in that amount of time, it's not helpful.
I'm sorry.
Was there a rehearsal time, or did you rehearse on the day?
No, we didn't have rehearsal. And we sort of just rehearsed it, and there wasn't too much lighting, so I felt like by the time we worked out the scene, Autumn, the DP had the camera on her shoulder, and we were cooking. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I really prepared for the film. I prepared for it like I would a play. I just played Roxy in Chicago on Broadway, so I wanted to know this inside out and backwards, but any possibility, and I wanted to put my entire life into this role, so I did a lot of work on it before I got to Vegas. And so when I was there, I was just ready for Gia to, do what she wanted with me.
And that's great. Well, see, what I find astounding, I figured there couldn't be time for rehearsal with an 18-day schedule. And what's astounding about that is that so many of the scenes feel so lived in. The opening scene in the dressing room, all the dressing room scenes. There's an early scene in Shelley's backyard there are three principal cast members who aren't here, right? Jamie Lee Curtis, Dave Bautista, and Billy Lord, who all do break up. But they're long scenes, and they are so lived in. They felt to me like there was rehearsal, and that was the 20th take. That there was repetition, that you guys got to do it over and over again. And I'm assuming you had to move pretty fast. Do you want to?
Well, the funny thing is, those scenes in the backyard, those were our first days of filming, and because we're shooting on film, we only had a couple takes for every. I know we only had a couple takes for every scene or every setup, which for me and I think for all of us was really exciting. It sort of brought back that excitement, that adrenaline that we don't quite have with this digital age where we can do 50 takes of something. Knowing you only had 3 to 5 takes or 3 takes, it's that preciousness was really exciting. But I really feel like our preparedness and the way that our chemistry sort of worked. First of all, I think it was just we were so lucky to have such a magical cast. We're all so hardworking, but Gia really preps her actors really well. I've never felt so prepared walking onto a set. I knew my characters so well, inside and out. The backstory was so full. Kate does such a beautiful job sitting down with each actor and really breaking it down. So I felt like walking in, even though these scenes weren't set, we knew our characters so well. So when we were able to walk through these scenes, they felt really easy. And also when you're working with this cast, it was, I was just happy to be there.
Okay, well, speaking of knowing your character, did Gia and or Kate, did either of them talk to you about why your character is so angry throughout the film?
Yeah, well, that was something that we discussed quite early on, building this backstory, because I felt like Marianne really represents sort of the working class woman who started off her career with passion, with drive and excitement, but somewhere along the way of this sort of like monotonous cycle, she lost her love for it. It became a job. She got so caught in just trying to survive each day in Vegas as a dancer, trying to pay her bills, that it just became this sort of like routine for her. And the show closing, I think, is a great wake-up call for her, because she has to sort of look at herself, at her life, to see what she's at. Is she happy? Does she want to be doing this? And I found that's what was really fascinating, because doing what we do, we're so fortunate to be able to do what we do. And sometimes you forget that because it becomes your normal. And so for me, Marianne's story was just so heartbreaking, because she is a survivor, but she's just been so beaten down by life that she's forgotten to find a joy in her art.
Yeah, and there was a constant, listen, it could, I think that in the hands of a lesser actor, that it could have just been kind of wisecracking, gum snapping character. But your resentment of Shelley's love for Razzle Dazzle was really nuanced.
You know what it is? I think Shelley's whimsy is triggering for Marianne. She's more like Annette. She's been so sort of beaten down that seeing someone who has that sort of whimsy and dream still really triggers her. Like, she wants to wake her up and be like, look around you. you're doing this to pay your bills. Why are you really doing this? And I think she's become such a pessimist, and seeing Shelley, who's the polar opposite, I think it's just quite triggering for her. So I think that's why they sort of butt heads, even though in this found family they all love each other.
Yeah.
But I think that's why they butt heads, because I think Shelley and Jodie are much more alike in that sort of whimsy and.
I mentioned to Kiernan outside, and I've mentioned to you before, that the scene at your front door, between the two of you, in a film with sort of one home run scene after another, just this murderer's row lineup of scenes, that one was the one that knocked me out. How did those two performances happen? Did they just, are you about to tell me that you guys just showed up and?
I mean, it was painful. I was nervous to do that scene. I felt like that scene was also gonna change the course of my character's life post-film too, because it's one of those moments where you idealize someone and idolize someone and think they're perfect and think that they're always gonna be there for you, and then they let you down. And it's really, really, really painful. And we got lucky that the scene was toward the end of the film, so we'd already sort of established such a love and a chemistry, and it was an exciting scene to do because I love that kind of work, but it was also really, really tough, and I think it was hard. It's the thing where two people are in entirely different spaces and need entirely different things, and they clash in a way that's really, really heartbreaking. So I left. I mean, I don't know, I went back to my hotel room that night and I was kind of in a bummer mood after. But in a very, it felt very real, and it felt very, very difficult in a way that kind of felt right for the scene.
It sure did, and your performance in that scene was, I'm not sure what the word is, it was great. It was really great. The dancing that you did, I don't mean in the audition scene, I mean when you're by yourself and you're dancing, it's cutting back and forth between Jamie and Total Eclipse of the Heart, and you choreographed that yourself, you didn't get any help.
Well, we worked with the choreographer, Greg Butler, for the audition scene, but the other scenes was just me dancing around, being like I really do actually at home. But I think dancing is also a way to express grief, and I feel like it was part of her. It was part of her.
Yeah, but you did it. I mean, there was a lot of technique there, and am I right? You have only had kind of secondhand dance classes. You weren't able to take dance class when you were a kid. Am I getting this wrong?
I never took dance classes when I was a kid.
You had a friend who did go, and she came home, and it's not really the same.
No, I would wait for her on her porch, and I was probably before I was 10, and I'd be there in my cutoffs and dirty t-shirt, and she'd come home in her tutu and teach me shuffle ball change, a couple little moves. But I always wanted to be in dance class. I've always imagined myself as a dancer, but I've never done it, except for on Broadway.
I was just going to say, except for the
Fake it
Bob
till you make
Fosse
it.
musical that you did on Broadway, and the ballet turn in the feature film, you've not done any dancing.
Only in my head.
Yeah. Okay, it worked out. It worked out. Excuse me while I read my notes. I cannot read my own handwriting. Oh, okay, Kiernan, the Dirty Circus Dance.
Oh yes, I also did a little dance.
Yeah. First of all, I'm assuming that was choreographed for you.
That was.
And, okay, go ahead.
I will say, when I read the script, I immediately thought, I've got to do the splits in a month. That was the thing that I began work on absolutely first, was that. And yeah, Greg Butler was amazing. He was a wonderful choreographer, and it was really fun. I had a great time. But it was choreographed-ish.
What I thought was kind of charming about it was that you were marking on the whole thing. There was,
Yes.
you were making no effort to put any sexuality into it. You were just showing them the of the steps.
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorite parts of the scene. Watching it was that she doesn't know that it's this overtly sexual thing, and everyone else kind of does. And it was that real sort of even when I was doing it, since I was sort of in her headspace, I was sort of thinking of it as marking also, and then you sort of watch it and watch the reactions to it, and it's an entirely different
Shelley's
thing.
horror.
And, yes, and then my shame, and then a whole slew of things.
How
When did I become the prude?
I've made a concerted effort to stay away from that. Okay. Okay. In the kind of climactic scene with Billy Lord, with your daughter, when she's, she can't believe that you kind of sacrificed being a full-time parent for show business. How were you aware at all during that scene that she's the daughter of Carrie Fisher and granddaughter of
Debbie Reynolds.
Debbie Reynolds?
Yes. She came with a lot, and me just being a parent of two young boys and having a little bit of an objectified image when they were young, thinking that didn't really have an effect on them. I was very wrong, and so I feel like we all will have to beg for forgiveness to our adult children. There's no perfect way to do it, and so it was a wonderful scene for us, but it was our first time we met too, so that's...
Are you kidding?
No. But we both were coming, we both had a lot to give to that scene. And in a way, I was a stranger to her. And that's what the sad part is. I feel like, even if there's no perfect way to be a parent, and you cannot be there for your kids even if you're physically there. So I think there's a lot of guilt and shame that comes with, raising kids and being a working mom, working parent.
It's a film, if you watch it scene by scene, none of these actors, there was no easy day on the schedule. Nobody gets to wake up and say, okay, well, all I have to do today is say good morning, and I get to learn tomorrow's work. We're gonna run out of time, but I said I'm gonna stay away from this. I'm not. This role, you did not get to use any of the armor that you have had for most of your career, right? You just had to put it down. Were you confident? Were you terrified? Or both?
No, I just needed to do it. It was somewhere I could put my whole life. It was life or death, not to be dramatic. No, I'm sick of playing characters in my personal life. I'd rather play them in movies. And so I made that choice. And that's part of why I'm doing what I'm doing, is I'm still trying to figure it out. But this was such a great opportunity for me, and I hope it's just the beginning, because I feel like I've just scratched the surface, and I loved it, and this is a labor of love. I'm so happy that people are responding to it and feel it. So it's just really exciting.
People are always going to, as you know, and I think anyone who knows anything would say that you have not yet done the best work you're going to do. And the two of you are fantastic. Congratulations on this film. Thanks a lot, everybody.